Hi, my name is Harald Pehl. I'm part of the WildFly team at Red Hat and the component lead of the WildFly management console, which is also known as HAL. In this video, I'd like to talk about the different ways how to use the WildFly management console. So the WildFly management console is part of every WildFly version. So if you go to wildfly.org and download the latest version, as I did, you can unzip it to a local folder on your hard drive. So I've done that. And then after unzipping the distribution, you can start WildFly using bin standalone. This will start WildFly in standalone mode. And after a while, you should see a message like WildFly has been started. The admin console is listening to port 9990. So WildFly is ready and we can go to the browser. Open local host 9990, and this should load the management console, which is shipped with this WildFly version, and you can start configuring your WildFly instance. So this is probably the way you normally work with the management console. But there's an alternative way, and this is called the standalone mode. The standalone mode is explained on the webpage of HAL, which is hal.github.io. If you follow the Get Started link on the front page, you will find the description of the standalone mode. The standalone mode is an alternative way to work with the management console. It starts the management console on its own, so it runs a local web server and serves the bits and pieces of the management console using this local web server. The management console is more or less just a single page application without any server-side dependencies. The only thing it needs is a management interface it can talk to. And there are different ways how to launch the standalone mode. Though there's a native binary for Linux, macOS, and Windows, there's a container image, and there's an online version. So let's start using the native binary. If you go to the GitHub repository of HAL, which is github.com/HAL/console, and follow or go to the release sections, you will find the binaries attached to the latest release. So I've already downloaded the binary for macOS. So let's go back to the terminal, choose another window, and here you can see the binary for macOS. So all we need to do is launch this one, and this will fire up a local web server. Though the standalone mode, as you see, is an application based on Quarkus. It starts a local web server and serves the static resources of the console. And by default, it uses port 9090. Now, since the management console is no longer part of the WildFly instance itself, we need a little bit of configuration, and that's due to CORS policies. Since the management console uses the Fetch API to make requests to the management interface, we need to tell WildFly that the standalone mode is now allowed to access the management interface. And this can be done by adding a little bit of information to a resource and to an attribute. To do so, we launch the CLI mode of our WildFly instance, and we need to make modifications to some resources. So the resource we need to modify is core service management interface equals HTTP interface, and then we need we use the list add operation to add an allowed origin to the HTTP interface. So the attribute here is allowed origins, and the value we want to add is the URL of our standalone version of the management console. So that's local host and then port 1990. After doing that, we need to reload WildFly in order to make this happen. And then we can go back to the browser. And instead of using the bundled management console, we can use now the standalone version. Now the standalone version will detect that it's no longer part of a WildFly instance. And that's why it brings up a dialog. We need to configure, or we need to say which management interface I want to talk to. Though this is kind of a repository or bookmark system which is stored in the local browser storage, so it will exist even if you close and restart the browser. And so let's add a management interface. So you have to give a name for the management interface. So let's call that WildFly local, and the rest we can leave. We can use the defaults, so localhost 9990. Then click add and connect, and you're connected to your local instance of the WildFly of WildFly. Now you may wanna, what's the advantage, or why should I use the HAL Standalone mode compared to the one which is shipped with WildFly? So the first advantage is that you can always use the latest version of the management console. Though this version, for instance, is 3.511. Now you get the version infos if you click on the version number in the footer. So you see this management console has version 3.511, and this is the most recent version. So you don't have to wait until this version gets picked up and is available in the next major WildFly version. You can always use the latest features, the latest bug fixes, the most recent enhancements, and so on. And another advantage is that you can use one console to manage many different WildFly instances. So let's do that. As I already told you, you can configure many different WildFly management interfaces. So right now we have one instance running on our local machine, but we can start additional one. To make this easy, there is a repository with ready-to-be-used WildFly images. These WildFly images are based on the official ones. And there's an image for each major version. And the only difference compared to the official images is that these images come with an admin user and with pre-configured allowed origins, which are ready to be used with our standalone mode. And in addition, there are scripts which make it very easy to start different versions of WildFly. So let's use that. We go back to the terminal and switch to another window. And here we can use the scripts to start WildFly in version 26 using the micro profile configuration. And in another shell, we start WildFly version 23, and this time using the standalone full XML. Now both versions of WildFly have been started, so we can go back to the browser and start using these instances. To do so, I click on Connect to Different Server, and this will bring us back to the dialog where we can configure the management interfaces. So we already have one for our local instance, and we add another one for WildFly 26. Now the port For this version is 9926, though the start script we are using start the container and publishes the port dependent according to the version. Though in this case the port we are using is 9926, and we can add another one for the other WildFly instance we have, and this time we use 9923 as port. So let's first connect to WildFly 26. Though this one is using the standalone microprofile configuration, and this should be reflected in the subsystem. In the subsystems, so we see microprofile health, metrics, config, and all the other subsystems. And if we switch back to the connection dialog, and if we choose WildFly 23 this time, we will see that this one is using the full configuration. So we should see subsystems like distributable web, InfiniSpan, and the messaging subsystem. So it's very easy to use the one console in standalone mode and connect to the different WildFly versions. But that's not all. As I told you, there's also an online version of the management console available. Since the management console is more or less just static files, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, there's a version which is published to GitHub pages. And that's available at halgithub.io/console. Now this version is using HTTPS, and for that reason you also need to have a secure management interface. So let's try to deploy a WildFly instance on OpenShift and publish a secure route to the management interface, and then use this management interface to connect it to the online version of the management console. So first of all, let's open the online version of the management interface. This will bring up the dialog again, asking for a management interface to connect to. And now we go to the developer sandbox for OpenShift, which is available for everyone. So you can sign up, and once you have an account on redhatdevelopers.com, you can start using an OpenShift environment. I already signed up, and that's why I see start using my sandbox. And if I click on that link, I will be redirected to the OpenShift console where I can deploy my applications. So in the topology view, I can add my applications, and I'm adding a container image. So I click on add, choose container image. And here I'm using the very same image as scripts you are using. So I pick query.io slash HAL console slash WildFly, and then choose the version 26. I'm using the right icon, leave the names as the defaults, and then I need to adjust the routing options. So I choose show advanced routing options, and here I'm adding the port I want to publish, and that's the management, the port of the management interface 9990. So I choose this one, and then I need to check secure route. This will publish or create a route for this target port, which is secured by TLS. And after clicking on create, the port is created, the route is configured, set it up, and I should see the application in my view, and I can go to the log view to see if everything is running correctly. So it seems that everything is up and running. So go back to the topology view, choose the application again. Since I need to copy the name of the host, though I go to the detail view of the route and copy the host name. Since this is the host name, I need to configure for my standalone, for the standalone management console. So I click on add, give it a name. I'm using OpenShift this time, and now the scheme is not HTTP, it's HTTPS. The host is the value I just copied, and the port is the default port for SSL. So I'm using 443 here. Click add and then click on connect. And now I'm using the online version of the management console, which is now connected to a WildFly instance running in OpenShift. Let's verify that this really works. So I'd like to change the log level from info to debug. So let's go to the logging subsystem, open up the configuration for the logging. And now I'd like to change the log level of the root logger and adjust the console handler. So first, let's choose root logger, click on edit, switch from info to debug, save this, and we need to adjust the console handler as well. So here I'm switching from info to debug as well. And after this has been saved, I should be able to see that now debug log messages are popping up in the log view. So let's go back to the topology view, select my WildFly application, and verify that now also the debug log messages are present in the log view. Now, here you can see now the log level has been changed to debug. So in this video I showed you how to use the console in a different way you probably are used to. You can use the standalone mode to connect to arbitrary WildFly instances, whether they are running locally or whether they're running in the cloud on OpenShift. And hopefully you've learned something new. If you would like to try this standalone mode on your own, you will find all necessary links in the video description. And if you would like to contribute to WildFly or HAL, you're very welcome to do so. You will find all necessary information also in the video descriptions. So please leave a comment if you have any suggestions or want to give feedback. And please don't forget to subscribe to the WildFly channel. So see you soon and bye-bye.